Take for instance. Now, has a long and storied history of violence, from simply voicing support for Antifa and the act of punching Nazis, to more emphatic declarative statements, like the fact that we need to, quote, kill every member of ICE. Which could seem hyperbolic, I know, until you see that he doubled down while actively confirming that he would front $500 for anyone who kills a member of ICE. He's wanted a piece of me for a long time. His words. Luckily for me and you, he was staging a protest in Texas with a few attendees. And he was going to make it happen rain or shine. Except he canceled.
These guys are a disgrace.
Fortunately for us, we had his private phone number because he gave it out publicly on his petition that no one signed. And with some quick thinking and a little super secret spy work.
Hey, is this
Oh, yeah, dude, so I just canceled the protest. I was messaging a comrade, and, like, she was like, oh, hey, it's raining a little bit, you can still comment? And she's the one who was like, bro, you know, the weather service just issued severe thunderstorm warning. If you want to meet up, we can meet up, because I got nothing to do tonight.
I don't know the area too well there. Maybe some restaurant or something. Maybe we could, get a beer.
Oh, there's a beer garden nearby.
Beer garden?
Alright, man, I'll see you soon, and I'll put you that info.
Okay, see you then.
The meeting was back on. Can't help with the killing of innocent officers, but you've wanted a piece of me for a long time? Well, now you're down to 2 wishes. Your wish is my command, sir. How are you?
Is this Stephen Crowder?
Yeah.
Ah,
I think you want a piece of me for a long time.
Go f yourself, you piece of shit.
Hold. Yeah, it's true. He attempted to throw a drink on me, which felt incredibly familiar, but also ill-fitting. Really?
Yeah, go f yourself.
Beer? Well,
my friend, you almost got murdered because you're a ass.
What about asking about killing people from ICE? What about asking people to kill members of ICE? How about that? $500 a head? Come on, man, you've been wanting a piece of me for a long time. Is that all you're gonna do is throw some Pilsner? I would never advocate violence. I completely condemn any violence at all. It's not what this is about. Well, I'm flattered that you've wanted a piece of me for a long time. I wanted to know what that was. Is that just talking? Can we have a conversation?
No, sir.
So what did you mean by that? Was it like what you meant with killing members of ICE for $500 a pop?
I mean, I don't recall saying that, but...
You don't? Well, hold on a second. Quarter black, we've got a Bristol board. You want to kill Betsy DeVos, right? Kill ICE, Slytherin, that's glorious. It's always a sign of a tough guy on the internet. Kill ICE, kill every member of ICE, and then that you will help fund $500 for every member of ICE killed. You think that's okay? Because you know I didn't do that. You said a friend almost died because of me. I've never once advocated violence against someone else like this. As a matter of fact, I've condemned it. If you just say it was keyboard warrior talk, from wherever you are, a laptop, that's fine. It can be the end of it. Take it down. Take down the threats. Take down the offers to pay people for killing other people, and that'll be it. But if not, we're gonna have to file this with the police.
Do it.
Okay, I'm sure they're gonna be thrilled to see kill those pigs. $500 a head for ICE. Come on, man. Here's your chance. Everyone's gonna see this. Future people hiring you, members of ICE, police officers.
Well, I mean, I guess you all think I'm an unemployed leftist, so it don't matter then.
This week, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo stirred up controversy by saying America has never been great. What do young people think about that claim? Let's find out. Governor Cuomo came out here in New York at an event and said that the slogan "Make America Great Again" is flawed because it implies that America was great at some point. So we've been asking people their take. Do you think America has ever been truly great?
I don't believe America has been great for all folks ever, even today. I would have to agree with Governor Cuomo.
Can you point to a time, or do you think there was a time when America was great?
I mean, not particularly.
The idea that there was a once great America is, pointing towards this false sense of nationalism that, what is talking about white America, it's not great.
I think it has been great for straight white men for a very long time.
Do you think that there is a time you can point to where America was great?
I don't know, honestly.
That's a good one.
Not great, but there was definitely some progress. And I think we're just going through regression now.
It was never really great, but we do great things sometimes. We fix a lot of problems, but it's never just been wholly great.
Was American exceptionalism taught in the classroom, or do you know what that is?
No. No, it was not. No, I do not.
Okay. And is that a phrase that you're familiar with?
I've never heard it before.
Okay.
I personally wasn't taught American exceptionalism because I went to a very forward-thinking liberal school here in the city.
I don't think I've heard that term before in class.
Were your professors and your teachers teaching you the idea that America was great and was the best, or was it kind of the opposite?
It's kind of the opposite. All of my history teachers have ignored the fact that they're not supposed to put their political views on us, but they have.
My view of America in school was that it is the greatest thing ever, and then once I guess went to college and learned about other nations, you kind of learn from a different perspective.
So our history, let's see, we go from sort of a native genocide to slavery slavery by different name to slavery by different name again.
We've never been truly able to practice what we preach.
It's all non-existent fantasy that we're trying to achieve, and what makes America great is it's the melting pot culture. It's the fact that we come from so many different pieces and places, and we're just a conglomerate of things.
Do you think America was ever great to start with?
I do.
Got it.
Yes.
And what time in our history would you point to as America having been great?
It's always been great.
What kind of characteristics do you think toxic masculinity manifests itself as?
Violence, aggression, sexual assault, whatever, the need to show dominance and power.
Would you admit that men maybe are physically superior?
No, absolutely not. I bet I could beat you in any physical competition.
How much can you bench press?
More than you.
All across the country, toxic masculinity courses are taking colleges by storm. And now the new school here in New York will be holding a class called Male Melancholia, Crisis Masculinity, which focuses on the fall of white masculinity. Masha Tupitsin is a professor of film and gender studies who teaches the course, and she joins me now. All right, Professor, what is toxic masculinity, first of all?
I would say there are different ways to describe it, but the way that I refer to it is to think about toxic masculinity as when masculinity has to kind of abuse its power in order to function.
How would I demonstrate on a day-to-day basis toxic masculinity?
Well, I think that's a complicated question, but on a daily basis it would be in your relationships with other people, in your relationships with women in the workplace, and the way that you relate to your own power in the workplace.
Just by being a jerk and offensive and imposing my will on other people.
Yeah, or even negotiating that imposition of will on other people, right? This idea that you have to kind of stoke my ego or behave a certain way to get ahead.
Okay, so white masculinity is now a problem. There's a downfall among white males. How so?
Well, I'm not saying that there's a downfall. I don't think there's a loss of power, although men are always lamenting their loss of power.
How are we doing that?
Well, this constant idea, even someone like President Trump, who's always lamenting sort of the good old days, or a show like Mad Men, which is always focusing on this kind of loss of supremacy that men once held. So that narrative has been going on.
So when Donald Trump says, make America great again, what is he trying to say? That we want to return to the good old days where white men ruled the earth?
Yeah, and still rule the earth, but that's being destabilized, and so there's this constant kind of narrative of mourning and loss about what's been lost. But what really needs to happen...
But couldn't the president just be saying, well, I want to go back to the 80s, where the economy was roaring and we were doing great?
And when he was the king.
Couldn't that be what he's saying? Maybe not.
But either way, it's self-referential.
White males, maybe more about let's go back to when America was strong and powerful and the economy was great.
And it was a patriarchy that no one questioned.
But is he saying there was a patriarchy that no one questioned?
But no one has to say that. I think there isn't any debate anymore whether sexism is real. I think even the disbelievers are now believers.
So you think when Trump says, make America great again, he wants to go back to the time when sexism was good?
Well, when it was good, and it certainly wasn't questioned, and people were afraid to question it.
But how do you know that?
Let me just finish. So part of what I think is important about the Me Too movement or the Time's Up movement is that it's making everyone question what the effects of masculinity have been, right? It's making everyone have that conversation and to think about how that, how sexism has been totally normalized just on an everyday level.
But how do you know, though? Because you don't know.
Well, I am a woman, and sexism is part of the daily fabric of all women's lives.
Okay, but you don't know when Trump says "Make America Great Again," he's talking about wanting to bring back sexism.
Now we're having a conversation about mind reading as opposed to interpretation.
No, but you brought up that he wanted to go back to those days.
Because these are very old narratives, and they don't just refer to national politics. National politics also consists of race and class and gender. It's a kind of package deal, right? When you're talking about nation building, you're talking about a lot of other multidimensional things.
Okay, well, listen, I did not take that from what the president said when he uses that slogan. I guess you're interpreting it.
So I didn't come here just to discuss his slogan.
Right. So what do white men need to do in America now? How can we improve, in your opinion?
Well, to me, the crisis is really about this lack of responsibility and this lack of self-interrogation, right? That's really what, I mean, etymologically, the root of crisis means this point at which change must come.
But what do you mean?
So either the change can come or it won't, but what needs to happen is that men start doing some of the work and interrogation around masculinity as opposed to all these other sort of special interest groups.
Okay,
like
so let's just take it step by step. I'm a man. I'm a white man. What do I need to ask myself, or what do I need to address internally about my white male?
Well, I would say two things to start with. So one is, what kind of privileges have I inherited because of my whiteness and my straight masculinity, let's say?
White privilege.
White privilege, but it also has to do with masculinity. So I would ask, like, and we all have to ask that question. What privileges do we come in the world with, and do we abuse those privileges?
Okay, so you want white men, I'll just take a step back. You want white men to recognize that they have certain advantages by being born a white straight male.
Yes, that they use.
And they want, and you and I, as a white straight male, should be more conscious of my privileges when I go walk around in everyday society.
You should be, but most likely you won't be because you don't have to. I mean, that's sort of the argument that I'm making. Most people are only conscious because they're disenfranchised in some way, right? So they're aware of how the dominant power works and how their own lives function. And people who have dominant power don't have to ask those questions. Okay. So the questions that men have to ask themselves are the same questions that all kind of people that are struggling for consciousness and liberation and justice need to ask so that the world can be better for everyone.
What about a guy in Minnesota who's making, you know, $20 an hour, his really tough job, he's got a family he's trying to support, and the economy's not working for him and things are tough. How does he have white privilege?
Well, you didn't specify that he is white, so I don't know that he has white privilege. He still is even if he doesn't have economic privilege, right?
He still has racial privilege.
He still has racial privilege.
Okay.
He still has masculine privilege. He can walk into a bar, right, and behave a certain way because he's a man, that he might not be able to walk into his job and behave that way, right? We all can negotiate power in different ways. So just because you're not powerful in one setting, you can still be powerful and privileged in another
When I walk into a bar as a straight white male, am I being too confident when I walk into the bar?
Well,
I
don't know
should
how
I
you
go
are
in
when
a
you
more
walk
humble
into a
way?
bar. I just know that men can behave a certain way in public settings and in bars that is different from women. I mean, this is the case for everyone, right? There are codes that we're all following. Even if we just go to work and we don't behave a certain way, we can get fired.
Like I can be loud and obnoxious, and I can buy people drinks, and I can flirt with people. Is that what you're saying? And women can't do that?
Well, they might do it, but they pay a different price for that.
Okay.
Even just on the level of, you might not be seen as someone desperate if you're a single man that walks into a bar. Right. Whereas if a woman walks into a bar and she's single, that is perceived as a very different kind of social gesture.
Okay. And then lastly, what was the other question I'm supposed to ask myself as a straight white man?
Well, you've interrupted me so many times and now I can't remember.
I guess that's probably my toxic masculinity.
Probably.
All right, Professor, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Jane. I'm social justice waste. Agree with me or you'll be shamed. Hello, my name is Jane. I'm social justice waste. Agree with me or you'll be shamed.